All right. So I'm going to start chatting now, and then I think I've got a few more people who are going to log on in the next little bit. So, but welcome. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm really excited because I really do want all of us to have the very best Christmas possible. And I said in my stories a little bit that over the past few years, I've made some changes. I've done a lot of learning and growing, but I've made some changes that weren't always easy, but really helped in the long run to make Christmas more enjoyable, less stressful, um, and just better all around. So that's what this is here for. So I would say it's probably a good idea if you want to be as undistracted as possible to just be able to get the most out of the experience, and kind of work through what that's going to look like best for you. So if you have a pen and paper, that's always great. And if you want to stop your notifications or stop watching Netflix. No, I can't tell if anyone is, but I've been watching Outlander while I've been editing. so I'm kind of an Outlander addict at the moment, although there's some of it, if you've seen it, some of it's scandalous. But anyway, it's been keeping me company while I've been doing photo editing, which is fine. Okay, so we're going to talk about a few different things tonight. How to best tap into the joy that the season can bring, how to diffuse stress, find some rest, to ditch comparison, talk a little bit about money, and then how to kind of action that for you. So we'll just get started with that. That's a lot, I know. So I'm going to ask you right off the bat, which may sound kind of weird, to just close your eyes and spend just a few minutes or a few seconds even picturing all the things that you love about Christmas. So I want you to see what you see, who's there, what kind of things might you taste, what kind of things might you see. So just take a couple minutes to kind of paint a picture in your head. And if things come up that feel icky or that you don't like so much, just like kind of take note of that and bring yourself back into picturing the things that you do like about Christmas. And if you can't come up with anything, then I think we have a bigger problem. And then what I would encourage you to do is to just jot a few of those things down, even if it's on the notes on your phone, but like 5 or 6 things that really stood out to you that you really enjoy about Christmas. And while you are doing that, I'm going to share a couple of mine. Oh, I went too far. Back. No, this is the same one. I love this clip because he looks so happy about Christmas. So then it's kind of the same question, but asked in a different way. What makes you smile when you think about Christmas? Cool. And so now we're to my favorite things about Christmas. So I love fairy lights, although there is some discussion on whether they're fairy lights or twinkle lights or just white lights. If you have a favorite thing that you call them, you can drop it in the comments in the chat bar, because I'm always interested to hear what people call them. I absolutely love baking at Christmas. I actually don't even eat the baked goods. I just love to bake during Christmas, and singing Christmas songs. I actually am in the process of making my own Spotify playlist that is only the songs that I like, because I don't know if you are aware, but there are a lot of really low quality Christmas songs on the Spotify playlists. I'm probably on all playlists. So, and maybe they're some of your favorites, but that's why I gotta make my own. I also love wrapping my presents as long as it's not last minute. So if you have any qualifiers when you're going through, you really love looking at Christmas lights, but as long as you can be warm and drinking hot chocolate, that is a fine thing to note. Or if you, like me, like wrapping gifts, but not doing it on Christmas Eve, that's important to note too, because we can kind of plan around making that the best possible. I really love making things pretty, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about kind of how to do that realistically for me in a little bit. And I love hosting Christmas brunch. So those are some of my, I mean, there's lots more things that I love about Christmas, but if I was just going to do like the top 5 or 6 things that came to my mind, those would be mine. So if you've had a chance to write yours down, maybe write in the chat bar, just write done or yes or something, so I know you've had enough time to kind of put through some of those thoughts. And if you can't figure out how to do that, that's okay too. Thanks, Ashley. All right. So we're going to kind of hold on to those thoughts about Christmas. Well, let me move on. Great, Kate. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So in the same kind of ways that you can close your eyes and think about the things that make you really excited about Christmas, there are probably a few things that kind of like make you cringe or feel stressed. And so we're actually going to work through a couple of those things if that works for you. So I would love if somebody would be willing to pop into them one of the things that causes the most stress for them over the Christmas season. So I'll give an example of mine first, and then maybe we can talk through 1 or 2 of yours. But the first few years that we had kids, and we did this before we had kids, but once we had kids, we would go from our house, we'd sleep at our house, and we would do like Christmas at our house. Then we would go to my parents' house and do Christmas with them. And then we would go to my in-laws' house and do Christmas with them. And then we would go back to my parents' house for Christmas dinner. And that did not feel good. Like that felt like a whole lot of tired and rushed and tired. And it was hard to get kids to nap, and it was hard to like enjoy the things that they were getting because we were like rushing on to the next thing. And so it wasn't easy because that was the way that everybody else was happy, was if we went and saw everybody and did everything in one day. But I had to realize that that really wasn't going to work for me. And so because of that, I had some hard conversations and we made changes. And so now we do our house in the morning on Christmas Day, we do my parents in the afternoon, and we do the next day with my in-laws. And that's just how it is now. And that might still be overwhelming and stressful for you, but that kind of works for us and feels good. So, so that's just kind of one example of something that I do. I also hate, I know it's a strong word, but I do hate being in the mall in December. I don't know why people are so mean in the mall in December, but it just adds a lot of stress to me. So I actually am almost done my Christmas shopping now. You can hate me if you want to, but that is what I've learned to do over the years. I'm actually further behind than usual, but it helps me to avoid that thing that makes me feel not good. So if you wanted to write down in your notes, maybe a couple of things that popped into your mind as soon as I said, what makes you feel stressed about the holiday season? And like I said, if you wanted to drop one into the chat box, I'd be happy to kind of like brainstorm with you on a couple of things. But I want to note that it is a stressful season. And so the idea or expectation that you would be able to get rid of all the stress is probably unrealistic. And so then oh, I don't know how I just wrote on the screen. That's kind of, is that me? Is that you? I don't know what's happening. Can you see like pink and blue lines on the screen? Or is that interesting? My Apple Pen's all the way over here. I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, yeah, so, and sometimes it's hard for us to, it is hard for us to do the thing that we know is best for us because it might bother someone else. And that's a big step to go to say like, hey, I really want to do what is best for me, my family, without causing conflict, without these things, but, you know, not hurting someone. And it's kind of a balancing act, but in the end, you're the one who has to look out for you and your family, and do what's best for you guys. And so normally I've found that there's usually a middle ground that can at least be reached. So I know it's already November the 15th, which is scary to me, how quickly it goes. But, it may not be possible to make this Christmas exactly perfect in terms of getting rid of all the stressors, but maybe you could take a couple steps closer. And I totally get the buying gifts thing, Kate. I don't know if there is a perfect gift. I think sometimes we'll put like a higher, like, okay, it's got to be just like this. It's got to be the best thing. But when you think about it, like, maybe you have had the perfect gift given to you, but I have not. I've had lots of great gifts given to me, but I don't think I've ever gotten like a gift from somebody who cares about me and I've gone, oh, I really thought they'd get me something better. So sometimes we put a really high expectation on ourselves, and that can definitely add to the stress. And then the time is coming closer and you haven't gotten anything, and so then the stress gets higher, and then you panic, and then you're disappointed. Instead of, like, this is something we do in my house, which some people think is ridiculous, but like, we actually send each other like Amazon links of things that we want. Or like, screenshots or whatever. Like, I'll be in a store and I'll be like, Alex, I really like these mittens. Like, I know my beautiful friend Erica, who's here tonight too, has a very specific taste in what she likes, and maybe her husband is much better at kind of fitting into that. But if I just told my husband that I needed new mittens, he would probably go ahead and get like mittens for snowboarding that are like $100 and super warm, but I really want like fleece lined wool mittens that are really cute and go with my new coat. But if I don't tell him, he's not going to know that. And so I think sometimes we realize people can't read our minds, but we're like, they expect us to read theirs. But it might be worth, depending on the relationship with the different people you're talking about, like, consider asking for a few ideas and then picking from those. So then it's still an element of surprise, but they get something that they want, and it can be like a win-win. Maybe that's an option. But often, in terms of stress, we know ahead of time what's going to stress us out. So like, this is something you already know about. And so if you're going to get stressed right up until Christmas and just get whatever you can find, I would suggest maybe getting something and then keep looking. So then you don't have the stress of like, what if I don't find anything? It's actually something that I talk with my daughter Addie about. She is super sweet, but she worries about not having the best thing. So like, my son is like, I like this toy, I'm gonna buy this toy. And my daughter's like, I like this toy, but what if there's a better toy out there somewhere that I might like better? I should get no toy until I'm sure it's the best toy. And so we have done similar things with her, said like, why don't you pick something out and we'll like go shopping for a couple more days. This was for her birthday. She was very stressed. And then, if you don't find something you like better, we can go back and get that first thing. But it can just be like, knowing you've got that backup can probably help with that too. And I know somebody texted me this one the other day, was about holiday commitments, like in terms of going places and being places. And I had one friend last year who went to like 5 Christmas parties in one night, which to me is like ridiculous. Like, I can't do one really well. So I'm kind of a homebody when it comes to stuff like that. But I mean, I would do one, but doing things like that, that's just too much. So this is a trick that I've done, because I don't like to lie. Maybe you guys are cool with lying, but I really don't. I'm not good at it. And now I'm like, wait, how close are all of us? Because if you invite me to something and I tell you, actually, I've got something on the calendar already, you're gonna wonder if I'm using my little sly trick on you. But what I do is at the beginning of December, I block in times that I'm staying home. So I will put in like date night with Alex, or read Christmas stories and bake Christmas cookies with the kids. And I put it actually in my calendar. So if somebody says, oh, can you make it to this Christmas event that, maybe I actually wouldn't mind going, but I know I need more time to myself to be in time with my family to make it meaningful. I can then say, well, I actually already have something in the calendar. Thanks so much for the invitation, but it's not going to work for me this year. And again, as women, I think it's all women here tonight, we tend to be really hard on ourselves and kind of have like a super high expectation. But in general, if you think about it, when you send out 20 or 30 invitations, or however many you would send to a Christmas party, do you get hurt by every no? Or do you understand that people have some other things and other commitments going on this time of year? I see nodding, and this is I got some feedback before when I was writing the slides, and in general, we're all understanding of that for other people, but when it comes to ourselves, we're like, oh, no, I can't say no, they're gonna be hurt, they're gonna think that I don't like them, they're gonna think that I don't want to, they're gonna think I don't think they're cool enough. Just joking, I don't know what you think they're gonna think, but those kinds of things, and in the end, we wouldn't think that of somebody else, but we kind of have this worry that people are going to think those things of us. So it's easier for me if I put those times in the calendar ahead of time, like these are the times I want to set aside to like wrap presents and watch Christmas movies because I love doing that. Or these are the times that, I promised the kids this year that we would have sleepover under the Christmas tree. But if we're out every night at Christmas parties on the weekends, then that's just not going to work. So I need to schedule in those things that are super important to me. So this is poor Elaine, so stressed. So, and then I said, I think I told you already, or not told you, I'm bossing you, recommended that you write down some of the things that bring you the most stress or anxiety, not to focus on them, but to kind of be able to troubleshoot maybe how to reduce that stress a little bit. That would be my recommendation for that. Because, yeah, we'll get there. Hold on. Okay, strategies. So, is there anything that is stressful for you over Christmas that you can avoid entirely? So for me, the mall in December, I can avoid that entirely. I can plan ahead and shop, and if the Canada Post strike doesn't ruin everything, I can order last minute things from Amazon Prime. But is there anything that you just off the top, like, every year you get invited to this Christmas party that your dad hosts and he makes you feel like a total jerk, like buy tickets to an event that night. Like what can you avoid completely that that stresses or causes anxiety for you? And then is there, if you can't avoid it altogether, is there anything that you can do to make it better or more manageable? So let's think of an example. For some reason, this slide has no notes. But okay, let's say you really love the Christmas parade downtown, but it is super stressful to you to find parking and to then leave in traffic. And so you think about not going at all because you don't want to deal with that part of it. But is it possible, could you take the bus down? Or could you carpool with another friend? Or could you splurge and stay at a hotel downtown? And then, or like a Christmas party that you don't really want to go to, but it's work and like it's pretty much mandatory that you go. Like, can you take a friend who's going to make it fun for you? Can you play a drinking game every time your boss says, Christmas? I don't know. But is there a way that you can, in general, make that more manageable for you? And there's lots of strategies too in terms of reducing how anxiety makes you feel, like realizing that it's just a feeling, kind of like, okay, I feel this way, but I'll get through it. I've gone to this party the last 10 years and I've survived every single time, so I'll probably survive this time, kind of working through that kind of stuff. Setting boundaries, or expectations for yourself. So if you want to get out of that party by 8 o'clock, you set an alarm on your phone and it'll vibrate in your pocket and remind you that you've got to get going. Or, you set in your mind the first time somebody says something about, I don't know, like if it's a family thing and the first time somebody says something that they always say, that you will either stand up for yourself or you will say, excuse yourself. And I really like this quote, is that if you're not happy with the way something is, you can either change it or change your expectations of it. So if you go to something, for example, I think of a work party. I in my mind, I'm going back to this work party that I actually photographed, and it was so vulgar that if I ever worked for that company, I would never, ever, ever be able to go to the Christmas party. But if I was forced to, for some unknown reason, not like somebody could actually physically make you go to the party, but if I felt like I had to, or my job was on the line or something like that, I would go in with the expectation that it was going to be bad, but that I would make it through and come out on the other side. And then, that makes it a little different. If I can't avoid it completely, I can just say, like, set that expectation. And if you look at your whole calendar for the month and you say, okay, these are all the things that are great and this one thing is going to suck, I can handle it. But if your calendar is filled with things that cause anxiety and make you feel awful, then I would recommend trying to find a way to maybe cut some of those out. And then you got the power. Anybody? No, was I even close? But all of these things, all of the decisions that we make for every season are actually in our control. And that can be a really scary thing, because then we kind of have to own it and we have to make the choices that are going to be best for us and for our families. So, but it can also be really empowering to realize, wait, I don't have to do things just because everybody expects me to, or because I've always done them a certain way. I've got the power to change that. And a reminder that some stress is normal. So this is a huge thing that I've been finding on social media about stress and sadness and the expectation that we're supposed to feel happy and crazy excited about everything all the time. Like that guy in the meme, like it's like overjoyed for Christmas. Like the idea that it feels so magical every moment of Christmas is bull. And if we go into Christmas thinking we're going to feel like that every day, all day, then we're going to be disappointed. We're going to say, this isn't the Christmas I wanted. But if you realize that you can hold on to those little moments and hold on to that excitement, those little times, and not beat yourself up for those times when you feel tired or maybe sad, maybe you're missing someone, maybe there's circumstances that are just really tough, like that is normal. And if you tell yourself that it's not, and you tell yourself like, oh, like everybody's looking so happy and I feel really sad, so there must be something wrong with me, like that's a big spiral down to go in. So just a reminder that some stress, some sadness, some tiredness is all normal. So don't beat yourself up for that. And it might sound cliche or kind of like buzzwordy this time of life, but taking time for yourself over the holidays is huge, because there are a lot of things pulling at your time and your attention, and it's easy to overdo it, and it's easy to get run down, and then you can get sick, and then Christmas isn't so good. And so then you still want to do all the things, you just feel like crap doing it. So if we're cutting the crap this Christmas, then we're going to take better care of ourselves so we don't feel like crap. So just like I mentioned that in my calendar, I will schedule things in, like write in your schedule ahead of time that you're going to take a bath if that's something you like. I actually really don't like baths. Or a night to read by the Christmas tree. Just little things that will help you to like decompress, be calm, relax, go to bed. Like there's going to be lots of nights that you're probably out late and lots of nights where you have lots of commitments. So give yourself a little extra grace on the nights that maybe you can go to bed a little earlier. And for me, I know I'm always like, oh, if I stayed up 1 hour longer, I would get 1 hour more of things to do, or things done. But in the end, it catches up with you. All those hours, they catch up. So taking time to breathe, if you're a meditator or if you pray, or like making sure that you keep those things that keep you grounded a priority. And if you don't have them yet, we can talk about that too, because they're great things to have. And then sleep, obviously, I mentioned that. I know that the Hallmark movies can be really tempting. I actually currently have 17 Hallmark movies DVR'd because I didn't know which ones would be good. So I just went on W and got them all. So I watch them and stuff when I'm wrapping gifts and things. But again, it's easy to lose the sleep, and then I find everything way worse when you're tired. I don't know if I'm alone with that, but like my emotions are worse when I'm tired. Like little things the kids do seem worse when I'm tired. Dropping milk on the counter, worse when you're tired. So recommend sleep. It's good stuff. And it helps you to not gain weight, and it helps you to not get sick, and it's just good stuff. So sleep. This is just a little reminder. You don't have to do it all, guys. Okay? You can pick, you can choose. And that poor kid, so tired. I feel you, kid. I know what it's like. Okay, so fail to plan to fail. This is a kind of a reiteration of all of those things, but write in the things in your calendar or on your phone, wherever you schedule things. If you don't, maybe you could start. But write in rest, write in family time, date night, gift wrapping, Christmas shopping, anything that sometimes you find you end up doing last minute and you feel stressed about it. Like if something popped into your mind, like write that down and try to schedule it in ahead of time. For me, definitely gift wrapping. I really don't like gift wrapping on Christmas Eve, but somehow I always end up doing it. So, I mean, I do it all through, and then somehow there ends up being a pile. Maybe because I buy too many presents, and so then there end up still being more. But that I would recommend that. Now, this one is a huge one, and I did a little video on diffusing distractions a few weeks ago, and it is so crazy how much we compare ourselves with other people. And over Christmas, it is no different, maybe worse. I legit spent less than 3 minutes going on Pinterest to grab these screen captures, like this one and the next page. And I was like, I want all the things. I want to make my house look like that. And how do they do that? And it looks so perfect, and I want mine to look perfect. And I don't know if I can afford a wreath like that, or maybe I could make a wreath like that. I'm sure I have time to make a wreath like that. Where, like I spiral in 3 minutes of being on there. And not that there's not good things on Pinterest. There's lots of great ideas, lots of like affordable decorating tips and ways to simplify Christmas. Lots of great stuff on there. But if you ask yourself, what are you doing with the social media? Like, what is it? Is it adding or is it taking away? What is it speaking to you? And I've heard lots of different little things about comparison, like comparison is the thief of joy and don't you dare compare. And I believe all of it. I don't know any way that comparison has really ever benefited me. And yet I do it all the time. So my little tagline there, that your Christmas doesn't have to measure up, it doesn't have to compare to anybody else's Christmas. It doesn't have to look like anybody else's Christmas. Your Christmas is yours. And it can be hard to like really let that soak in when there are so many images coming at us and ideas and things that we want to do and expectations on how we should feel and all of those things. But it doesn't have to be like anybody else's. So this is a big one, but you need to decide what you want your Christmas to look like and what you want it to feel like. And maybe it brings you the like most joy in life to put up a wreath that you handmade and took you 20 hours. If that is you, all the power to you. It is not me. I am also not the person who has 3 Christmas trees in their house, but I know people who love to decorate different trees in different ways. For me, it's different than that. It's not necessarily, it's not, I don't want to say not at all. I am for aesthetics, but it's not focused on how things look. It really is about how things feel. And I find I enjoy Christmas most when it's slower, when we sit together and we read books, when we watch Christmas movies, when we, cuddle up under the Christmas tree and play a game. So that is maybe not for everybody. Some people love the hustle and bustle, but that's what's great about it, is that you get to kind of think through what you want yours to look like. And if you want yours to be like a perfectly manicured Christmas, that is also fine. But measure it against the kind of stress that it might cause. So the stress of the cost, or the then trying to compare and then trying to photograph it so that everybody can see that it looks so pretty. Just the different steps of it. It's not always just like the one thing, but it can kind of snowball. And I'm big on the one-liners, or the kind of ones that you could put up on your pretty letterboard that I don't have, but I would write lots of things on it, I think. And the one that stands out to me in this is, every time you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. So if I'm saying yes to spending hours decorating, I'm probably saying no to some of that time reading books by the Christmas tree with the kids. And just like I say yes to cooking brunch for 10 or 15 people because I love it, it probably means saying, actually, in fact, when I set the date for our Christmas brunch, it made me already say no to 2 other things that I would actually kind of enjoy going to. But you get to choose. And then on the alternate side, every time you say no to something, you're actually saying yes to something else. So if you say no to a commitment that you really aren't excited about, by using my little tagline of, I already have something on the calendar, you're saying yes to yourself, or to your family, or to your faith, or to your time. So you're putting something else first just by saying no to something that doesn't serve you, which is a powerful thing to realize, that it works both ways. Here's some more beautiful Pinterest pictures that I think I could make those. Where can I get trees to cut to make those? But what? I mean, I like making stuff, but I don't have time to make all the things this year. And social media, I know Pinterest is a form of social media, but my own personal culprit is Instagram. And I know I'm not alone with that one. And like I said, Instagram can be a wonderful tool to connect you to people, and to see what your friends are up to. But I'm all about being curious. So curious to my reactions to things. So if I see something on Instagram and I react like, that is really beautiful. Oh, look what they were doing. That's so fun. That's one thing. But if I say, how does her house always look like that? What? My kids aren't even wearing the same socks. I don't know the last time my kids wore the same pair of socks. And these people are perfectly coordinated in every single picture and every single story. What is wrong with me? You can see how that sounds kind of different. And when I say it, it's kind of silly. And like, I poke fun of myself for it, but we do it all the time. Like, maybe not as obviously, but it really does come up a lot. Like, my cookies don't look like that. Or, but my cookies taste really good. I don't know what theirs taste like. They could taste like dirt. They look really nice, but they might taste awful. And here is the secret. This is the secret to life that will serve you not just in Christmas, but nobody has it all together. Not one person. No matter how perfect their Instagram feed looks, nobody has it all together. So not at Christmas time, not at any time. So if they're saying yes to a perfect Instagram feed, very likely saying no to something else. And that is a choice. Sometimes my Instagram feed looks perfect, and that's fine. I'm just saying no to getting I'm saying no to getting more client work done. It's not always something super emotional, but there is always a trade-off. So I challenge you to look at your social media usage over the holidays and always, but we're talking about cutting the crap at Christmas. So, and see how it's serving you. And maybe you don't Instagram for a weekend and see how it feels. Or maybe you only latergram. I'm a latergrammer. I almost never post anything when it's happening. Even my stories, they're often like at night when I'm decompressing. But that's what works for me. And then sometimes I'm on there more often. But you can see how you're responding to being on there. And if it's serving you well, and if it's like giving you motivation for ideas for things to do and making you feel great and excited, that's wonderful. But if it's making you question your Christmas and question your goals and question your cookies, if anybody questions your cookies, you just gotta let it go. I'm really excited to bake some cookies. So maybe spend some time away from that, like have an unplugged day with the kids every week, or whatever that might look like for you. So Instagram, your phone, social media in general, it's not either good or bad. It's just a tool, and we choose how we get to use it. So that is food for thought. I thought this was funny meme. I Christmas harder than you. It's really not a competition, and it's sad to me that, like, personally, I've been kind of overwhelmed by the commercialization of Christmas in the past couple of years. It doesn't slow me down from buying presents. I still love doing that, but I spend a lot more time in reflection about how we've kind of lost the meaning of Christmas in all the stuff and all the busyness. And wow, this is a really dramatic Christmas song. Can you guys hear that? No? Okay. It's on in the background, but I don't even know what it is. I'm gonna skip it. It's stressing me out. So again, it's kind of, all of it's very similar. Like it's different slides, different pictures, some that make me laugh. But it's really just kind of looking at the same thing. Like, is this what you want your Christmas to be about? Is it trying to compare with the person next door? Do you want to be the best Christmaser of all time? But what do you really want Christmas to mean to you? And that a bigger, busier, brighter Christmas isn't always better. Sometimes a slower, quieter, simpler Christmas kind of lets you get back to the real meaning. So I'm not going to Christmas harder than most people. I'm going to just do it differently. Okay, so when I polled people on Christmas and what stresses them out the most, money was at the top of the list. And so I did a little bit of research on this. And I don't know anybody who doesn't get stressed about money sometimes. But this time of year, maybe that's why the people in the mall aren't happy in December, is because they're stressed about money. I'm not sure. But we are bombarded with commercials and advertisements and Instagrams about all the things. And it's easy to feel like you have to have it all or have to do it all in order for you to have a successful Christmas. And if you've always spent I wrote gajillion dollars on presents in the past, it'll probably be hard for you to spend nothing or a very little amount, but maybe you spend like half a gajillion dollars this year and then work down. This is one actually I talked to my husband about, because I love buying gifts. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, but asking yourself the question, what amount of money could you spend and still feel okay and not feel stressed? And then we come to that trade-off with the yes and no. So if I say yes to sticking to my budget, I might say no to buying something that my son really wants. But is this yes better than this no? Like, is the payoff worth it for me, or for you? And then, or maybe question, like, why do you feel the need to have to spend more than that? So if you have a budget in mind that you're like, okay, if I spent this much, I'd feel really good about it. I wouldn't be stressed. Like, we've got that set aside. What is it that pulls you away from that to say, like, no, I need to spend more. I need to buy more. I need to get more, even at the cost of this stress and anxiety about money. So I have also admitted that I love buying gifts, probably 4 or 5 times tonight. But I am trying to do it differently. And this also makes me laugh. My $1. I'm just making it rain the $1. Because I don't have like a unlimited disposable income to just buy all the things. And so when I think about it logically, I know that it is more valuable for me to be less stressed about money than to have all the things. But there's emotional parts to it for Christmas. And 56% of North Americans go into debt or use credit for Christmas. And then, so you have that option. You have the option to do that, of course. I've done it before. But the payoff, like, is the payoff worth it? And so you have that choice to overspend or spend more than what you're comfortable with, or go against the grain and choose to spend less or give differently. And this slide didn't flow quite as well as I wanted it to, but I did want to question or ask, what are some of your happiest Christmas memories? And when I did this exercise myself, very few of the things that came up really were money related, like in terms of how much money somebody spent on me. So again, like when I was growing up, people who know my family now would probably be surprised to know that we didn't have a lot of money growing up. Like, we never had name brand things, or we ate a lot of bologna, which I actually really love bologna. Had some last week for the first time in a long time. It was really good. Fried bologna's great. But, you know, we didn't have a lot of things. But Christmas, we always had a lot of presents under the tree. Now, I have no recollection of the value of a single present. I actually don't even remember what most of them were. I just remember the excitement of coming downstairs and there being lots of presents. And this was me uncovering why I want / need or feel the need to buy all the things, because I want that experience under the tree. So just like the trade-offs, just like the choosing, I decided that I'm still okay with having a lot of presents under the tree, but I am buying most of them secondhand so that I can stick to a better budget, but still get that outcome that I really enjoy. Now, maybe as consumerism bothers me more, and maybe as, you know, maybe budgets tighten up or whatever, I'll come to a different decision. But right now, that's kind of where I'm at. I found this infographic on Facebook the other day, and I thought it was fabulous. And not in any way to make you feel guilty. Like, if you absolutely want to buy all new presents for everybody, that is your choice. So when it says at the bottom, last resort, I didn't make this infographic, so I'm not judging if you buy new presents. I have some new presents for people also. But if you think about, like, when was the last time you were at like a baby shower or a bridal shower and somebody handmade a blanket and they unwrapped it and everybody was like, oh, look at that. Like, it means something more. And maybe that stresses you out. The idea of making things for people stresses you out. So then you go, okay, that's not the right choice for me. But like I mentioned, we have bought almost more than half of our presents for the kids on like Marketplace or Kijiji. And I am very proud of my husband, who is not as frugal as I am, who has been looking for things that he wants on those same platforms and sending me the links, which I'm just proud of him for, just gotta say. Um, but yeah, so if you can give memories, especially I know some of you guys, and you know, the minimalist and the less stuff is really appealing. So giving memories or giving experiences is the way that I often word it. So um, I know people poke fun at coupons for things or gift cards, but if it's something really specific, I don't feel like it loses its meaning the same way as just like a blanket gift card. But if you give, like, say my daughter loves horses but has never, well, she's now gone horseback riding. This was something I was going to do, but just as an idea, to give like a specific experience of going to a burn and then going horseback riding and like making that a gift. Or she really loves art, but I don't need more art supplies in our house. So gift certificates to the workshops at the Forecat studio is something that my dad actually bought for my daughter by asking. So buying secondhand, a lot of the stuff that's on there, like I know that some of you have kids and you know that lots of the toys, when they're done with them, they've only used for a year or less and they're still in great condition. I actually bought My Little Ponies for my niece, and I had bought one at Winners, which is also like usually a pretty good price. So it was like $8 for this fancy My Little Pony. And then I found a lot of 25 My Little Ponies for $10. So I took the one back and then got the My Little Ponies on there. And she is 4. She is not going to care that it doesn't come in a package. Now that's kind of funny because my husband actually asked, he was like, how long do you think we can get away with this for? And I was like, as long as we decide to. Because I feel like, I mean, maybe there's people in your life who would be offended by a secondhand gift. I really feel like that's their own stuff. But if they are, think about, like, for me, for my kids, if we start this now, I mean, we bought some secondhand stuff last year also, but we start it now, we're teaching them like the value of money, that you can get things at a good deal and like good quality. We don't buy broken stuff. And you can save money. The idea of helping the environment and not adding more waste and all that kind of thing. And also, you know, that you can get more things for the same amount of money. Not that more is always better, but this is just kind of an example for that. So I was trying to think of the cons to it, like, why wouldn't I do it? And the only one is like that negative stigma around used gifts. I mean, if you have anything else, like, let me know, because if there's something that I'm forgetting, like hygiene, I wash stuff if it's, yeah. But I really don't see the downside to doing that. So for me, that's a great option, so that I can still have lots of things under the tree, because that makes me really excited and happy to have all the pretty little wrapped presents under the tree that all match. That's really important to me too. That's the one way I'm a Pinterest Christmaser, is the perfect stuff under the tree that's all matching. All right, this is a little truth bomb for you. Oops, he was supposed to be moving. I'm going the wrong way. 1 second. Again, that you get to choose. And so if you reacted to that little infographics like, screw you, Heather, I want to buy all the new presents, you can't stop me, you are right. I cannot stop you. I wouldn't want to stop you if that is important to you. But this whole being curious and checking in with yourself about why that's important to you can be really valuable too. And that's the same for all the steps along the way. Like, if you got offended by something I said, often I find for myself, if I get upset by something, it's usually because there's something a little deeper, a little under the surface that maybe I need to look at. Yeah. I'm just going to say, this is a little truth bomb also, so that when you guys, if you follow me on Instagram and you see my stories and you see all the presents under the tree, like, I am above the national average for spending on my children. Again, like, they need new pajamas and they need new pants. Like my daughter has holes in the butt of almost all of her pants, but I'm not buying them for her until Christmas because I love wrapping all the things and having them under the tree. And so that's me just knowing that that's something I really enjoy. And so if I add it all up and put it out there against the average, it's higher than what that is. But again, I don't have to compare that to anyone. I've kind of like made my peace with where I'm at with spending for Christmas, where I'm happy in terms of finance. And as long as I stay within that, I love having all the things under the tree. So that's a choice that I get to make. And so if you flip back to the very first, I assume everybody takes notes like me. Like if I was attending this, I'd have like 8 pages of notes. And I actually had 23 pages of notes to talk through. So I take a lot of notes. But if you go back to the very beginning, to the things that excite you about Christmas, you can choose. You get to choose if you do those things, if you get to be a part of those things. And I mean, let's be realistic. If you said like, oh, I would really love Hawaii Christmas, that may not be super realistic. So, take that all with a grain of salt. But is there, not is there, because there is, what is it that you can do to make Christmas better for yourself and your family this year? And so I want you to make it happen. I know it's really easy to be like, these are some great ideas. At least I think they're great ideas. And then just kind of go and do things that you've always done before. So I'm going to ask you, what can you do within the next 24 hours, or 48 hours is what I wrote in my notes. So let's go with 48. What can you do in the next 48 hours to get you closer to the Christmas that you want to have? So what kind of crap can you cut out in the next 48 hours? So I know we're still a little bit before like the peak of Christmas season, but what can you do? What can you action to make you feel like, yes, I'm going to do this in the next 48 hours? So is it booking a vacation day? Is it printing off a calendar to put on your wall so that you and your family know what's going on and block off those times? Is it going through your Christmas decorations and throwing out the ones that were your great Aunt Elda's that you really don't like, but you've kept because you feel like you should, but they kind of creep you out? Or is it planning a budget? What can you do? What can you actually action, not like think about, but actually do in the next 48 hours to get you one step closer to the Christmas that you want to have, filled with those things that you like? If you want to drop anything into the chat, I would love to hear something that you're going to do. And this was the second to last slide. So I didn't actually do my own homework. I worked through most of the activities for myself before, but I'm going to try to think of what I can action in the next 48 hours, and then I can be accountable to you guys too. I will put in the calendar the night that we are going to have our sleepover under the Christmas tree. Because I've said we were going to do it the last 2 years and we haven't, because I haven't scheduled it in. So I'm writing it down because, actually I can't because my notes are on my iPad and then I will lose the screen. But that is what I'm going to do. So does anybody else have any? You can just give me a nod if you want to, too, if you don't want to share yours. But something that you can do in the next 48 hours to get you closer to that. Yeah. Anybody working on one? Two, typing. Yeah, wrap nights. I actually think I'm gonna, now I don't know if it would be a pain for people to do that, but I was like, maybe somebody could come over and we could wrap gifts together. I feel like that would be fun and like add another element to it. But then I was picturing like trying to get out of the house with like boxes and bags of stuff. But it's possible, that could work, but I like that one. So planning your wrap nights. And Kate, would you do anything, like what would you need to do to prepare for that too? Like, I know I only asked for the next 48 hours, but is there anything that you would need to do? Like make sure you have tape and wrapping paper and maybe a Christmas movie on W or 17. If you're like me, who's got them all on there. But that, yeah, that can be a great thing to do too, is like figure out what you want to do and then the steps that you need to do to make that happen. All of that. Yes. All right. So before that's pretty much my Christmas cutting the crap Christmas workshop thing. And that is how I hope that you are able to make Christmas all that you want it to be this year. And I hope that you can diffuse some stressful situations, make some boundaries, choose some self-care, schedule in your calendar the things that are meaningful and that matter to you. And then be curious about the stuff that comes up. Like if you're out shopping and you're like, okay, I'm done, but I feel the need to keep buying things. Like, what's that about? Just kind of be curious. All right. And Ashley, I like that. Breaking it down, and ordering things so that you're not feeling stressed about that. That's awesome. Does anybody know if the Canada Post strike is actually on now? Somebody messaged me today and said like it was legit on, and I was like, I have packages in transit. I'm not sure how that's gonna go. But that would stress me out not knowing. That's so funny that we can just realize those things. But okay, well that's good. Then something's still happening. Actually, that gives me hope for my Star Wars wallet that I ordered for Finn. That's great. And so I want to let you know that I am still, I am passionate about helping women to live their awesome lives or their best lives, however you want to word it. And I don't just say that as lip service. Like I was super nervous to come on here because I don't really love being seen. This is not my favorite thing, but I do love helping women to kind of break the mold and step out of what is expected and do what really matters. And so if you need to talk more about any of this stuff, like you can shoot me off a message if anything upset you or that you questioned or wanted more clarification on. You can DM me, or do people still say DM? I'm so old now. Or send me a Facebook message or whatever, and I'd be happy to chat that through with you. And I promised to not have like a sales pitch. I've gone on lots of these webinars and there's often a catch at the end. There's really not. I am going to let you know that I have 3 retreats coming up next year. So if any of this was fun for you and you're like, man, I want to dig deeper into some stuff. I was supposed to have a launch and giveaway and everything lined up to start tomorrow, but life gets busy. And so that's not all ready, but we will be doing a giveaway starting on Monday. So if you watch our Instagram, it's going to be valued at almost $2,000. So it's going to include a photo shoot and attendance at the Light a Fire retreat in January, and a 3-month membership to Moda Yoga. So lots of good stuff that's going to be on there, but that's going to be on Monday that we're going to launch that. And basically, I just really hope the best for all of you guys, that your Christmas is filled with lots of things that bring you joy and meaning, and that you can cut out the stuff that makes you feel crappy and that's not so much fun. So if anybody has any questions before we log off, but that's kind of what I had ready for you guys tonight. Any questions? You are very welcome. My absolute pleasure. I still can't, can I ask a question? Can you guys see like a blue and pink stripe in the middle of the page? I don't have any clue where those came from, but good to know. I'll have to figure that one out. I'm like trying to write on my screen now to see if I can do it, but that I did. Okay, that was me. But the other ones I can't take away. Well, thank you. Oh, you did that? Okay, I didn't know if people could do that. So that's something I just learned about the app. That's great. It's all a learning process. But I hope that you guys all have an awesome Christmas. Like I said, I am here if you want to chat. And yeah, follow us on Instagram if you don't already. Living Your Awesome Life. and hopefully we'll connect another time soon. Thanks so much.